Welcome back to the Deep Dig Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew. My other host, right over there.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. Obviously, it's an awesome week. We are feeling good. Go Niners, baby. So the Niners beat the shit out of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're talking that, everything that happened. Brock Purdy might be MVP. Big Dom takes on Big Dre. It was awesome. What a week. Besides that, we're talking the Jets quarterback situation. Joe Flacco looked pretty good for the Browns. We're talking college football playoffs. Someone got screwed, Florida State. But before we dig into all of that, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe. And be sure to drop some comments below. Let us know your thoughts. We are a show for the people, obviously.
Yeah, and also, we have been hitting our diamond picks of the week every week for the past, I don't know how many weeks, but how many units we up right now?
Right now we are up 7 units. So
you're not going to want to miss this next pick on Saturday. Make sure you subscribe and watch out for the diamond pick of the week every week, giving you the best 49ers bets.
Yeah, I mean, obviously last week we hit major, big games, call for big plays, and that's what we do, buddy. But, I mean, are you ready to kind of dig into this Eagles whomping?
This did not go how I expected. I mean, all leading up, I kept saying, well, listen, this Eagles team, it's been one-score games. They've been in physical games. When is it going to catch up to them? And it feels like it caught up to them, and they just weren't physical enough. They couldn't dominate the line of scrimmage. Their linebackers couldn't tackle, and Debo fucking ate. Debo snatched their chain. And I don't know if you saw this morning, the Eagles actually signed Shaquille Leonard. So they really want to bolster that defense that got we walked through them.
Yeah, man. And I talked myself into it as we led up throughout the week. And I think I even told you hey, the day when we were going to make the diamond pick, should we just bet the 49ers and put a bunch of points on it? I'm talking 9-10 points. And you're like, I don't know about that. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The Eagles do play well from behind. They've been in a bunch of one-score games. But I was thinking, just everything about this, the 49ers had a 3-game stint that was really awesome leading up to this. They had a lot of rest at playing on Thanksgiving. The Eagles were actually taking on the Chiefs. Then they followed it up with an overtime game against the Bills. This was the perfect time to strike. So I was thinking blowout, and the 49ers didn't stop talking shit this entire week. They kept it going the entire week, knowing, hey, exactly what Debo said. If we had Brock Purdy during that championship game, we would have beat them by double digits, and they followed through with everything that they had said. Trent Williams was all up in the mix, just mauling dudes left and right. Nick Bosa was battling was one of the better matchups against Lane Johnson the entire day. Brandon Ayuk had a couple of very clutch third down catches, along with Jawan Jennings had one super clutch third down catch, and then just absolutely mauled the guy and went into the end zone. Just tough plays, and they established that they are, as of right now, the better team.
Don't forget about the matchup with Dre Greenlaw and what's his name? Big Joe?
Dom.
Big Dom. What a battle of heavyweights. I mean, outside of the game, we could get into this whole situation. Watching the clip again today of what went down, I mean, I've seen coaches kind of oh, hey, let's break this up and everything, but whistle hasn't blown yet. Dre Greenlaw throws, was it Devontae Smith down to the ground? They're inbounds. And so already we were kind of okay, I mean, yeah, he suplexed him, it was like a side suplex, swept him to the ground. So already I was like, man, this 15-yard penalty, is it bullshit? And then immediately we see fucking Big Dom come onto the field and push Dre Greenlaw. And you're not a player. You're not one of the coaches. What are you doing getting immediately involved in a play that hasn't gotten physical? Yeah, they got in they're chirping in each other's face, but to that point in the game, no one was throwing punches. I don't understand if it was last chance you situation where they storm the field and they're stomping out your running back, like they're actually throwing hands. But like it's sports, it's physical. These teams don't like each other and they're getting each other's face. Why are you having this guy who works in an office? Because he's not the security guard. He's the guy that like is in charge of security. Why is he stepping onto the field and pushing our player? So I thought it was bullshit that Dre Greenlaw is getting ejected for that.
Yeah, and former 49er Aziz Al-Shaair actually said, if anyone besides a player or coach touches me, we're going to have a problem. And I think a lot of guys feel that way. I know Richard Sherman was pretty pissed off about it too. Like, there's no reason for a non-player or coach to be inside the white lines during the game. There's no reason whatsoever. I think Big Dom is going to get banned from the sidelines, just like that guy from Miami that Tyreek Hill took the picture with his phone. I think it's the same thing. Hey, you're done for the year. We're going to reevaluate after this season and see if we're going to allow you back onto the field or not. But on the other stand, like, there's no reason for Dre Greenlaw to have been ejected when this guy shouldn't have been on the field.
And it's not like Greenlaw hit him or anything. Like,
he grazed him.
He pointed and it grazed his face. I kind of hate that about how soft the referees can be at times, where like, remember the referee like backed up into one of the players and he like bumped into him and he was like, "You're out of here." And it's like, bro, come, like, if it's incidental, like, why are we able to watch replays and like go back and see who started what or like how physical a play was, but we can't go back and be like, okay, actually he accidentally bumped into this guy or his hand just grazed him when he was pointing. I understand that Greenlaw was in the wrong in that also by putting your hand in someone's face, but like, this guy shouldn't have been there. This guy instigated the situation. So what's stopping me from now hiring a bunch of fucking big doms from the Bay and putting them all over the sideline? Why is it? Was there a thumbs up on my face right now?
I don't know why that popped up. Is it? What did you do?
I was just making a really great point.
Yeah, it was like, fuck yeah. But yeah, I mean, let's go ahead and I volunteer Cali T, and let's get BT out there on the field talking shit to these players.
Yeah, I mean, like, why don't I have one like on every 10 yards, just fucking instigate something with the player, and now let's get a bunch of guys thrown out. Like, it's so dumb.
It's so dumb, dude. It's really ridiculous. But I mean, back to the gameplay. I think we were the announcers obviously were expecting the Eagles to rally around this big Dom guy and play better, which they did have a little stint where they were playing better. But I mean, if you listen to Brock Purdy afterwards, he was like, no, like, when you see that happening, when you see momentum shifting a little bit, you have to step on their neck. And that's exactly what this offense did. They came out and scored right after. And he even said, like, we have Dre's back. We love Dre, and we're going to rally around him. I think it was more of a motivator for the 49ers, if anything. Kyle Shanahan was fucking livid, dude. And he even said afterwards, there's no reason. Like, I think that they are going to be pushing for Big Dom to never be on the field again, or at least the rest of the season. And the 49ers team seemed like they ended up winning out on this, on that exchange.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers came out, and I think we got to give like Steve Wilkes some credit, because when the game started, Eagles drove down, they're looking really good. But as the game progressed, I think the game plan was like, let's keep them in front of us. No big plays. We're going to rush 4. And the coverage was really good this game.
Oh my goodness.
There were so many times. How many times the announcer's saying like Jalen Hurts is just holding the ball too long? Well, look downfield. Everyone's locked up. Travarius Ward had a great game. Ambry Thomas looked great.
Ambry Thomas. A lot of people owe Ambry Thomas an apology. I've been saying it since his rookie year. He was in the right positions the entire time that he was playing. Yeah, people made catches over him, but he was in the right spots. And look at what he did this past week. He was in the right spots when he needed to be. There was awesome just goal line protection when they needed it. I think he swatted 2 passes in the end zone. Charvarius Ward had a swat in the end zone. They just bend but don't break. It was awesome to see.
Yeah, the defense looked great.
And then Diamador Lenore folded DeAndre Swift, dude. That's a highlight play that you're going to see for years to come. He folded him like a lawn chair. It was crazy.
It was just a crazy game to watch. Like, this team that a lot of people thought was the best team in the league, and their record was showing that, just get absolutely dominated. I just wasn't expecting that at all from the 49ers, even though I was like, yeah, they could win. They could win by maybe 2 scores. But, man, Brock Purdy put the league on notice. I don't see anyone anymore saying how Brock Purdy's not the franchise guy. That argument, which was crazy to have, like pretty deep into the season, I don't see that argument happening anymore.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's good, but can he play with the concussion?
I thought it was ironic how the Eagles fans are trying to clown on the 49ers fans so hard for like, oh, you're crying about having your backup quarterback in. And I mean, look what happened now that we had Brock Purdy. And then also Mariota had to come in at some point. And I was kind of like, all right, let's see what you can do with your backup quarterback, Eagles.
And they were already getting dusted by then. It didn't matter.
Yeah, by the point that Mariota came in, the Niners, it was already a blowout.
Yeah. So, like, at the end of the day, it sucks to see Jalen get hurt. Anyone who rooted or cheered for Jalen Hurts going to the sideline and having to be evaluated for a concussion, you're a fucking loser. But at that point in the game, it really didn't matter. It was kind of already over, and the 49ers were just putting the emphasis on the win.
Man, Debo putting the exclamation point on it.
Ugh.
And Juwan Jennings just
yes,
man. It was crazy because none of these plays were like, oh, Brock's gonna throw it 50 yards down the field, he's gonna moss you. Every play was like, we're gonna fucking run you over.
Yeah,
and that style is just so good to watch for the 49ers against probably the other most physical team in the league, in the Eagles.
And they made you're exactly right. They made their linebacking core and their secondary just look mediocre. Like, they looked like they didn't want that physicality. They did not want to hit Debo in the fourth quarter. They didn't want to hit Juwan Jennings. Brandon Ayuk, they just didn't want him to go past them. He just kept eating up the sidelines. So the 49ers are just the better team. It gives me mad confidence going into this playoff run. Having beat the Dallas Cowboys, just starched them. Then coming into Philly, and starching them.
And the Lions,
who in the NFC,
struggling a bit,
is going to beat the 49ers?
Lions struggled in this last game.
Yeah. The Lions, who also got beat by the Seattle Seahawks, who the 49ers starched. They struggled against the Saints. I don't think the Lions have it. Their defense is god-awful, and if they do not have the lead or they can keep up run for run with this 49ers team, it's going to be a blowout as well. Like, I don't see – do you see anyone in the NFC beating this 49ers team?
It's going to be tough. I think it depends on how healthy the Eagles come back in. Like, they need to – honestly, what they're missing is dropping a game or two to just like, hey, we don't got it this week. Let's just take a break. Like, let's take a week off and let's, come back next week stronger. And I feel like that's kind of what rejuvenated the 49ers was like, man, we're losing these games and this sucks, but let's take these extra days and really get healthy. And once we got healthy, it's all over from there. But the Eagles just been going nonstop, man. I think they played like 3 games in like 15 days.
Okay, but at the end of the day, like, what are the playoffs? You don't get bye weeks in between playoffs. So
yeah, but leading up, I mean, it's just tough because they're winning these close games.
They play and football.
Now, if they
football when they needed to play football, that's crazy. That's
no. Once they play the Cowboys, like, that's the game they have to win. But if they drop it, now it's wow. Okay, even if we win, the rest of the schedule's easy. 2 games against the Giants, and then I think they have the Seahawks. Like, those are games where they really could have just got up 21-0 and then coasted. But when you play every single game every week, 3-point game, 7-point game, I mean, your body's taking a toll.
Yeah, I mean, before we dig into like next week with the matchups with the Dallas Cowboys and the Eagles and the 49ers and the Seahawks, do you have any like last statements or like, hey, let's put a bow on this?
Brock Purdy, MVP of the league. Brock Purdy has the best odds right now to win the MVP.
Yeah, he is the favorite for the NFL MVP. Personally, I have an agenda. I would really like for it to be Christian McCaffrey, but I like the Brock Purdy. Like, he's done everything you need to do as far as a quarterback for a winning team. He's looked awesome down the stretch. He's explosive, yet also like just really picks and chooses his spots. He does it well. When he turns the ball over, he makes up for those mistakes. I mean, you feel good about him. And so I don't know if he's going to end up winning this. I think it's a year where if a non-quarterback does ball out, there can be a non-quarterback MVP. But man, as of right now, how could you not? If the 49ers end up with the number 1 seed, or even if they end up at number 2, but they have this head-to-head win against the Eagles, you have to do someone from the 49ers, whether it be Brock Purdy or even Christian McCaffrey. But Brock Purdy, MVP as of right now.
Yeah, this is a weird year where no quarterback has like really pulled away and no one's like showing that flashy storyline. So I think definitely this should be a year where it goes to McCaffrey or Tyreek Hill. Those two guys are just dominating all year. How many more records does McCaffrey have to break before he gets that notice as the MVP? But the league's not going to let that happen. They're not going to let it be a non-quarterback. You can tell that clearly in the odds in Vegas. If it was going to be McCaffrey or Tyreek, like they would be at the top already. Like they would be in the top 3 right now. But they're not going to let it happen. It's going to be a quarterback, whether that's Lamar, whether it's Jalen getting a couple more wins and really just solidifying himself at the top, or if it's Purdy. And it could very well be Purdy in a weird year like this, where like if not, we're not seeing a lot of good quarterback play. I mean, look around the league, how many backups are playing, and even the good quarterbacks are having a lot of stinkers out there. So if not Purdy, then who? I know we were talking last week, like if Purdy's not top 10, then who's in the top 10? Name me the top other 10 best quarterbacks, and you can't really put the list together. So right now, if it's not Purdy, then who is it? Because Jalen Hurts, he hasn't played amazing. He hasn't played bad, but Purdy's looking
Brock Purdy
better.
just beat him.
Yeah, Brock Purdy
head to head.
Jared Goff fell off a little bit. Lamar, I feel like it's just been quiet over there. That's who I would feel like is more comfortable, but now it starts to feel like the narrative is pushing towards Brock Purdy.
Yeah, and I mean, to go from Mr. Irrelevant to NFL MVP in a 2-year stint, it's pretty good. I mean, you start to build these storylines. Hey, the 49ers are a powerhouse. They're, just beating the shit out of upper echelon teams. You kind of, and then this fan base is so huge. And so you start to really bubble that up as we start to go on in these weeks that actually matter. So I could see it happening. Again, if Christian McCaffrey, let's say he balls out and again is the rushing leader by more than 400 yards, like you got to take a look at that too.
Yeah. Well, next week, the Eagles have a big matchup with the Cowboys. That's going to really tell a lot for the number 1 seed picture. 49ers playing the Seahawks. Are we worried at all about that game? I mean, the Seahawks, they've been frustrating for me, man. Their offense just keeps stalling out every time I watch them.
And then they have a shootout with the Cowboys on Thursday night, which ended up being one of the best Thursday night games, probably of the year. It was awesome to see. Then you just have the dumb play calling of calling a screen and not blocking Micah Parsons, the one player on the defense that can wreck your entire.
You had 2 chances at it too.
Yeah,
and just bad play call after bad play call.
So pretty ridiculous, but. Then you start to see I see the vision of what this Seahawks offense could be. DK Metcalf, he is the fastest player in the NFL on record this year, which is crazy because Tyreek Hill has had some plays where he's just had straight dead sprint to the end zone off of a 50-yard, 40-yard, just clear, no one to beat.
I should be the Seahawks offense coordinator because, I mean, here's the game plan. Throw it to DK 50 times a game. Why are we not throwing it to DK 20 times a game? Fuck it. Throw it up to him. There's just games where Gino just doesn't want to target DK, and it's just it's like the whole Devontae Adams situation. Just throw it up to him. This guy's going to come down with it more than half the time.
Yeah, and he's fast enough, and he has a good route tree to run every single route and it be crisp. He can beat defenders which is pretty fucking wild considering how big this guy is. For him to be faster than Tyreek Hill and to be that size is such a crazy advantage. You have to throw it to him more.
And I know we said stupid play calls on the Seahawks part. The only reason the Seahawks got that second chance at the end is because stupid play calls on Mike McCarthy's part. They're like passing it back and forth, like, no, you win. No, you win.
Yeah.
McCarthy, he like threw it deep to stop the clock when he could have just ran the ball. That's why Cowboys have not been a team with a winning record all year. I think their team is soft. The 49ers exposed that multiple times already in the past couple of years, and their coaching is just not good situationally. And so they might beat the Eagles this Sunday, but I don't see them being really a threat to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's something I was thinking too as I was watching them battle against the Seattle Seahawks. I just don't see this being a real contender. But at the end of the day, they are the number 3 team in the NFC. I know the Lions do have that slot technically, but I think the Cowboys would beat the Lions. The Cowboys,
I don't think so.
I think the Cowboys would beat them. The Lions defense is fucking god awful. It's garbage. And it's only gotten worse as the season has gone. Jared Goff has really struggled through the rest of the season. And they just don't know what to do, whether it be, do we really run Jahmyr Gibbs, but we really love David Montgomery? They need to figure out what, the perfect recipe is on that. I think the Cowboys would beat them.
I think the Lions will win. I think they have a lot of firepower on offense. They have a lot of weapons. Their defense has key players here and there. But yeah, they're your way. Like add some more talent on that D-line, another linebacker maybe. They got some young players. Like Brian Branch is looking pretty good. Jack Campbell, that young linebacker? He got the start this last week. I thought he did pretty good. But yeah, they start to fall apart. They almost lost to the Saints when they were up big. But the Cowboys, I don't know, man. I don't trust them at all.
I think they could beat the Eagles. The way the 49ers played the Eagles gives me hope that the Cowboys can exploit some of these things, because where are their weaknesses? It's on the secondary. It's in the linebacking core. Yeah, you signed Shaq Leonard. Shaq Leonard was not good. That's why the Colts were comfortable cutting him. So is that going to add a lot that, oh, hey, we signed this guy and this week he's going to play for us? Probably not. Like, if we're going to be honest, I don't think it's going to make a whole big difference.
It's funny that you said Cowboys are the number 3 team in the NFC, because I think they're just the Florida State of the NFC right now. Fake number 3. They haven't beat a team with a winning record. They've been beating up on the fucking cupcakes of the league.
I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say this. The Eagles are a cupcake defense right now. Yeah, their D-line is awesome. That is like the sterling, like, hey, this is one of the best defensive lines in the entire NFL. But behind that, you can exploit James Bradbury. You can exploit Darius Slay blew a coverage which caused a Deebo Samuel touchdown. You can exploit their safeties, even though they went out and got Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard was looking he just was looking confused out there. I am confusion. It was crazy. And so I think that this Cowboys offense has enough firepower to go out and beat this team.
Well, you guys let us know in the comments, who do you think is getting that number 1 seed? Eagles going to bounce back. 49ers going to come back from behind and win it. We want to move to the Jordan Love-led Packers. They beat the Chiefs. They did it. And, I'm pretty sure the script writers were pretty mad because there were some flags at the end of that game that almost went in the Chiefs' favor. But then did you see that non-PI call for the Packers at the end of the game?
Yes.
Literally jumping on his back. He turned into his backpack for a second. That's not PI?
I know people are calling for Swifties to get this game overturned.
Yeah. Start a petition, because petitions always work.
But, at the end of the day, they've also benefited from the refs looking the other way. So it is what it is. Hey, you win some, you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
Is this Chiefs team good?
Pat Mahomes is good. Travis Kelce is good. This defense, that's the one thing is this is not an offensive Chiefs team. This is just not. Hey, like they get stagnant. They don't score in the second half, but their defense is awesome. I don't know how long in each game that this defense can hold up, but I mean, they do look stellar for 3/4 of each game. Which 3/4 you kind of got to toss it up and see, and is that enough to overcome when every team has an awesome offense in this league?
They just don't have enough weapons on offense, I think. I mean, you're relying on Rashee Rice, Noah Gray's out there, Sky Moore. I mean, man, like maybe you don't need Tyreek Hill, but you need another weapon with Kelce because when they're getting in the red zone, there's just nothing there.
I'm going to go ahead and say this is Sky Moore's fault because he chose a running back number instead of a wide receiver number. I think that if he makes the number change right now, that he immediately becomes 20% better. And that is good enough to be the number one receiver for this Kansas City Chiefs team.
Yeah, and you need like a old school wide receiver number. Give him like 84.
Yeah. Get like him 81. Get him old school like Terrell Owens.
None of this number 1, number 3 stuff. No. That's not going to work on the Chiefs.
But yeah, I mean, they're in desperate need of this. And realistically, they should have made a harder run at DeAndre Hopkins. They should have really went all in. And instead, he's over there building up a young quarterback in Will Levis. I know they got into it, and Will Levis was hot. And actually, I'd like to see that where he was like just kind of dug into him, like, "Hey, you fucked up, DeAndre Hopkins, you Hall of Famer, you fucked up." But yeah, they should have went harder at DeAndre Hopkins. They should have really figured out, like, "Hey, I know we have Patrick Mahomes. We shouldn't buy into the hype that." Hey, he can do it with anybody. We should actually just be giving him more ammo, just feeding this machine, like stoking the fire to really keep it going because it's catching up. You being cheap on that offensive end and digging into the defense. Yeah, the defense looks great, but you're lacking here. You cannot score in the second half.
Yeah, when you're trying to rely on in and out, like who even is their starting receivers? Because it feels like they're switching them as they go because I see Rashee Rice out there, Kadarius Toney some weeks, Justin Ross some weeks, and it's just like that receiving core doesn't really have an identity. When you have all guys who are the same level of play or output, that's not a good thing. You need some playmakers in there.
And then let's take it to the other side where we were saying that about this Packers receiving core. Just like at the beginning of the season, hey, like Jordan Love needs a guy, like what's going on here? But those like receivers have actually developed. They're looking much better from the start of the year to where they're at right now, which is why they are playing playoff caliber football. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who obviously are not the Kansas City Chiefs of last year, but still that's a feather in your cap if you're Jordan Love. And I mean, obviously, credit to Matt LaFleur for developing these guys, for developing the game plans around them to really highlight what they are doing best. Whereas on the other side, it seems like Andy Reid's like, yeah, I don't know, Pat, just go ahead. We're going to run the same shit and we'll figure it out. And Andy Reid obviously is a great coach, but he needs the pieces in order to pick this up. And none of these guys have stepped up the way that they needed.
A lot of drop passes for the Chiefs this year. Well, let's talk.
Hold on. Jordan Love, is he the guy? Like, are they really going to go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love?
I don't know if he's like a franchise guy or like going to be a Pro Bowl level player, but a couple weeks ago we're hearing rumblings like, man, maybe they're going to get rid of him after this year. And now it's like I feel like he's starting to pick it up. We've seen flashes, we've seen some good things here and there. Puts together a good win. I mean, this team isn't terrible, which looking at the receiving core at the start of the year, I was kind of like, man, this is going to be a rough year. Yeah, lock in Packers fans. But, I mean, he's doing a great job. He definitely earned another year to see what happens next.
and the Packers did a good job of locking him up for cheap. I thought it was stupid of Jordan Love to not play out the franchise tag and just, hey, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself and do it. And if he were doing that, they probably could have got him for way cheaper, like a multi-year deal. Like, hey, when he was struggling. But now, hey, you have a whole nother year to get it figured out. Let's really see what this guy can do. Let's get a couple. We're going to draft a couple more receivers. We'll get maybe one vet guy.
Did you say Packers going to draft a receiver? Ain't no way.
Not
Ain't
the
no
first
fucking
round.
way.
I meant the 5th round.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think you have to give him a whole nother year to really, again, figure out if this is going to be a franchise guy. But he's earned it. The way he's playing right now, he looks good.
They got really lucky too with Jaden Reed being a hit.
Yeah.
Like they got really lucky with that. If he wasn't a guy, if he wasn't there, man, it'd be all on Christian Watson to carry this receiving core, and you'd be kind of in the Chiefs situation. But
speaking about like crazy fucking play calls, what about that 4th and 1 where Jordan Love is just dropping back and he just chucks it and they make that? What the fuck? Matt LaFleur's smoking crack, dude. What the fuck are they doing? That's insane. But it hit, so it works. So instead of looking like a donkey, you look like the knight. Like it's so crazy.
All right. Well, we got other stuff to talk about. We'll get to Jordan Love in the coming weeks, see what happens. I almost said San Diego. The LA Chargers, they dominated the Patriots this week. They won in a shutout. 6-0. They made 2 field goals, and they looked pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. It was a tough watch. How are we feeling about Staley now? Did he save his job?
I mean, his defense pitched a shutout. What do you mean? He's a defensive coach.
Don't they have that one guy, that really tall guy at quarterback, Justin Herbert? It's really strong arm.
He's too quiet though. He can't be a franchise guy. He's too quiet.
Supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
No, they put a supporting cast that's shit on the field. Like, let's be honest, they really whiffed on Quentin Johnson. I think part of my take did this where they looked at the next 8 receivers to go off the board, and every one of those 8 receivers has over 400 yards. Quentin Johnson has 120 yards on the season. It's a major bust, and I think he's just in his own head at this point. I think he is hearing all of the noise. He's seeing what it's like to be an NFL player on the wrong side of the media, and it's really getting to him. And you feel for the kid, but he's got like the catching yips. Like it's just bad. Austin Eckler looks like a shell of himself. He looks so fucking slow. He has no burst whatsoever. They just need to revamp, and I don't know what you do because you're paying so much money on the other side of the ball,
and they're not even that good.
Yeah, and the defense still sucks. Like, you're paying Khalil Mack, you're paying Joey Bosa, you're paying Derwin James, and the defense still fucking sucks.
I mean, okay, they pitched a shutout against Bailey Zappi. I mean, let's temper.
Ramondre Stevens got hurt. Can you name a receiver besides Kendrick Bourne who's also hurt and on that Patriots team?
They got Tyquan Thompson. Is that one of the guys?
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, receiving core.
It's pretty bad.
Let me see their wide receiver depth chart. But yeah, going back with Bailey Zappi, I mean, did we even expect him to be better than Mac Jones?
I think he was better than Mac Jones. Like, I think Mac Jones loses this game by like 30. Here
is the team that the Patriots have put together on offense.
Okay.
Running back Ramondre Stevenson hurt. Zeke Elliott hurt. They have Ty Montgomery and JaMychal Hasty. Wide receiver Devontae Parker's hurt. Demario Douglas is hurt. Keyshawn Butte hurt. Kendrick Bourne hurt. Tyquan Thornton and Matthew Slater. And then They have Juju Smith-Schuster hurt. Jalen Reagor. And then at tight end, they have Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki, which, I mean,
pretty good tight end.
Good tight end core, but like, what are they doing, you know?
Yeah. And so, I mean, kudos to the Patriots for really like tanking the right way. They have a chance if the Panthers actually win another game, which they're pretty close. They had the last 2 weeks. They've had it come down to the wire. We have a chance to win.
Patriots make the Panthers almost look functional.
If the Panthers win one more game and the Patriots continue to lose out, the Patriots have the tiebreaker and they will get the first pick in the NFL draft.
Crazy.
They're executing this tank job to perfection. This is a Bill Belichick, like just masterclass.
And if they get the first pick and they get Caleb Williams, does Belichick stay?
Fuck yeah, he does, dude. If he gets a generational talent and is like, yeah, let's do it. But he's probably going to go with like some lineman from Iowa with the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
You got to build from the trenches. But like they are really executing this tank. It's like to perfection. Like,
do you think all the like rumors swarming about them not being happy with Bill, it's going to be his last year? Do you think there's a conversation at the beginning of the year or like early in the season, like, hey, let's just fucking tank Bill. Fuck it. Like, or do you think they're still upset?
I think they're still upset. I think that they are still upset, but then they leaked out this. I mean, I listened to Florio talk about it. How about you?
A little bit here and there.
Where he was like, hey, they were upset, but then Bill leaked that, hey, we just signed a multi-year deal. Like, there's no, like, I'm safe. Once the seat got hot, right? But then afterwards, the Patriots leaked out, yeah, we signed a multi-year deal. So if there's anyone who would like to trade with them or who wants Bill Belichick, we are not going to be releasing them. You're going to have to trade with us. Like, we control the rights to Bill Belichick. So then they took control of the narrative again. And so it is one of those things, like, if you're the Commanders, if you're the Chargers, if you're team, let's say the New York Jets, would the New York Jets trade for their arch nemesis, Bill Belichick? But if you're one of these teams, like, you're going to have to give up compensation. And we've seen with Sean Payton, it's a first. Are you willing to give up your first round pick for Bill Belichick?
I mean, here's the thing. Like, if you're trained for Belichick, you cannot make him the GM.
No.
No. If he comes, the only team I think would let him do that is the Commanders. I think he would go over there and run the show for the Commanders because they're just not good and they haven't been really making great moves. I mean, they got some good compensation, but now look at Montez Sweat is over there looking pretty good. Other than that, like the Chargers might be good for him. He gets Justin Herbert. He can kind of like coach up that defense who has some like star players. But are there really going to be teams clamoring for this guy?
Well, I mean, who else are you going to do? Like, if Adam Schefter is reporting that, like, he thinks it's going to be 7 to 8 job openings, like, there's not 7 to 8 coaching candidates out and about. Like, you know what I mean? There's a few offensive coordinators. There's Brian Flores. Do you want like another bounce back? Do you go back to like a Matt Rule? Like,
let's bring back Frank Reich.
Like, yeah, I mean, really, there's not going to be headlining coaching candidates for each and every one of these jobs. Maybe Harbaugh takes one of these jobs, but if he wins a national championship and he's already done his suspension, what's stopping him from being like, yeah, fuck it, we're going to just roll this back. Like, pay me. You're going to have to, you remember when you pulled my offer? Now you're going to have to pay me even more money. Here's a tax. Boom, another one. Boom, another one. Like, there's not going to be that many coaching candidates. Would you give up if you're even David Tepper? Would you give up a first round pick if you're David Tepper to get?
I mean, David Tepper might need to back up the Brinks truck to bring in a decent coach at this point. So I don't think he'd be opposed to it.
The only one I've said that said so far that they want the Panthers head coaching job is Greg Olson.
No coaching experience.
Yeah, zero coaching coming straight out the booth, which, hey, you might be like, maybe teams are calling up Jeff Saturday and be like, hey, can you come coach?
Who's not bringing in the coach that should have been coaching the Raiders right now?
Pisaccia?
Yeah. Why don't we bring in Bisaccia?
Yeah,
Or is it just that he had such a connection with that locker room
I think
itself?
it's different when you are in the building and you know the infrastructure. He'd been there for a couple years. You kind of see the ins and outs of what it looks like. You know who is a grinder just based off of you've been in the special teams room. You know what practice looks like. So I think it's just different.
I mean, maybe RG3 is going to pitch himself for this job too. So
Yeah, I mean, Steve Wilkes is going to get a job at some point because, again, 7 or 8 openings, people are going to get hired.
yeah,
It's just who, like, really.
yeah. If you're a coordinator right now, it's probably a good time to hit the market. But not if you're going to be the Panthers coach.
And they were saying that Vrabel is unhappy with the Tennessee Titans. Do you do a trade? Patriots, bring him back to New England and send Bill Belichick over there?
It's not a bad idea, but if I'm Vrabel, I'm kind of like, okay, my clock just got reset with this Will Levis guy, and we got to fucking build out this roster again. So next year is kind of a rebuild. Let's get back to our winning ways. And I mean, they're not fucking pushovers. They're still doing shit. So I'd stay if I was him.
But he is getting coaching like mega offers from college teams. I mean, take 200 mil to go to fucking wherever, Nebraska,
USC,
Iowa,
USC. Because
yeah.
Well, let's talk really quick about Gardner Minshew.
Ooh,
we're just going to touch base on this because is Gardner Minshew going to be a playoff quarterback this year? And next year, if he gets him in the playoffs, I mean, you starting him or Anthony Richardson?
Dude, I mean, you have to start him. I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to come back this year, and it'd be unfair to put a rookie in the playoffs
next year.
Oh, next year. Yeah, you start Anthony Richardson and see how it rolls out. But realistically, Anthony Richardson has been dinged up in literally every single NFL game that he's played. There hasn't been an NFL game where he did not get hurt. And so it's a pretty bad trend if you're an NFL quarterback. I still like Anthony Richardson. I think that he has a lot of tools, but his main tools are the ones that are going to get him hurt, which is his ability to be mobile, his ability to fight for yardage. And he has a cannon of an arm, but you can't do that when you're dinged up.
Yeah, I would say Anthony Richardson was looking really good when he was out there, but I mean, rolling in goal line and not sliding, just throwing your body on the line when you don't have that build, it's not going to end well. Right now, Gardner Minshew says 12 games played, has 2,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, 7 picks, also adding in 3 rushing touchdowns. Has the Colts in second place of the AFC South at 7-5. I mean, all the hype that we're giving to CJ Stroud and what he's doing with that team, they're 7-5, and Gardner Minshew's 7-5 right now with a team that was pretty bad before. So he might not have like flashy stats, but this guy's winning.
Comeback player of the year?
Come back from being a backup?
Yeah. Where'd you come back from? From sucking?
I mean, just something to keep in mind. I think we really love Gardner Minshew, and so we wanted to talk about this really quick. But he's not playing terrible, and it's almost a Carson Wentz thing to think of it. Like, there's going to be some ugly plays. There's going to be some, what the fuck are you doing? But, I mean, the guy's a gamer, and he leads a locker room, and he can make some plays and win.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you do have, like, 3 or 4 plays a game where it's like, Gardner, what are you doing? Like, what did you see here, bro? Like, but you have to take that when you have Gardner Minshew. Like, each game Gardner Minshew plays, you know, like, oh, yeah, that was Gardner Minshew.
But you know who made a lot of money in a career doing that? Jimmy Garoppolo.
Not this exactly. I mean, but he did it.
But, yeah, I mean, like how you're saying, there's going to be like 2 or 3 plays a game where you're like, what the fuck was that? And that's Jimmy Garoppolo in a nutshell.
That's true. I mean, he even if it's not with the Colts, he's gonna have an extended career because of this.
He has to be one of the best backups in the league.
I mean, and it's so crazy. Like, he wasn't gonna play ball anymore. He was gonna just start coaching, and then was like, yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. So, in an alternate universe, we don't even know Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is just a coach somewhere, and maybe making it up the NFL ranks.
He's just on the sideline in some cut jean shorts.
Yep, with his mullet rocking.
I mean, I'm glad we get to watch him play, but we'll see how it goes for the rest of the season. It'd be crazy if he gets in playoffs over CJ Stroud, though.
Yeah.
Wanted to talk really quick about the Jets quarterback situation. I know we're talking about Gardner Minshew. There's a lot of backup quarterbacks around the league. A lot of free agents were around, and Jets decided to make no moves. I mean, they brought in Trevor Siemian. We saw how that played out. Now they're thinking of going back to Zach Wilson, who was demoted to their third string quarterback. But after Tim Boyle and Siemian did absolutely nothing, they might turn back to him. And I wanted to talk about this again. I feel like we've been hammering the Jets all year, but for good reason. They should have made a move at quarterback, and nothing is more telling than how Joe Flacco looked this last week.
Yeah, I mean, we had the fortune to watch Joe Flacco, and he actually looked great. Like, honestly, I was super surprised. I was like thinking, like, okay, Joe Flacco, he's 38 years old. He looked like dead on arrival his last time playing, and he actually looks good. Yeah, he's still really slow. He's not athletic, but he has an arm and he could sling it, dude. And there was a time where it was like, hey, the Browns are going to cover. The Browns are really going to cover against this Rams team.
They had a chance to win at one point.
Yeah, and I think it was tie game, and Joe Flacco just threw a crazy pass out of nowhere. And that's just kind of what you get with Joe Flacco. But if Joe Flacco was on the Jets team, that's all the Jets need to win is just even what was his opening drive? I know you told me it was like 5 for 6 with like 60 yards and a touchdown.
I think it was better than that. I think it was like 7 for 8 and like 70 yards and touchdown.
Yeah. And that would have been good enough for a Jets win at some point during the season. That would have given you an extra win. And so, yeah, you've got to be kicking yourself if you're Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, or even a Jets fan, thinking like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, we're juggling the same 3 guys who we all know sucks. And we're waiting for Aaron Rodgers. Guess what? Aaron Rodgers isn't coming back. Like, it's not happening. It probably was never going to happen if we're going to be real. And you guys listen to bullshit. Like,
yeah. And if he comes back, I mean, he's really running a risk of re-injury. But Joe Flacco looked great. I know if you look at the score right now, you didn't watch the game. It looks like a blowout. He had the ball with about 4 minutes left with the chance to win. And he's been checking it down all game, looking really good and efficient, and throws like this 60-yard bomb to no one and gets an interception. And they run it back. But other than that, I mean, this guy looked really solid. And with the Jets, with this roster, being really solid or competent is all you need. Getting a below average quarterback in there is all you need to get wins.
No. We've seen below average.
They're very below average. They're lower than below average.
Well, and now Diana Russini posted that Zach Wilson, like the team is leaning towards going back to Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson is like, I don't know if I want to come back. I'm just hesitant to come back. Which I completely – I know me and you are on 2 different spectrums of this. I understand where Zach Wilson is coming from. Like, no, you benched me in 2 separate years, and not only benched me, but you've made me the 3rd string quarterback. So you basically told me I suck 2 different occasions. And I'm worse than Tim Boyle, who was even worse in fucking college. So, no, I don't want to play for you anymore. Like, I will go ahead and sit on the end of the bench, which is what you've told me 2 years in a row. I'm not going to do it, especially behind this shit-ass offensive line, which realistically, this offensive line has been a fucking problem since last year. And Hard Knocks this year, they were even saying we have the chance to rewrite this narrative where we're a good defense, but we're a shit offense, and it starts with this offensive line. And guess what? They made no changes, and they fucking suck still. So fuck you.
I mean, yeah, you're right on all that, the offensive line and that situation. But Zach Wilson just sounding a little immature for me on that one. It's the NFL. And guess what? You did suck. You couldn't move the ball. And yeah, it's partly on the GM and the offensive line. But at the end of the day, you sucked. You put that on the field. And it's not just you. Other quarterbacks sucked. We're turning back to you. This is the NFL. Like, if you don't want to play, then fucking go home and go find another job. Because look at Josh Dobbs, he's getting benched all the time, and he's coming out, and when he fucking gets his chance, he's performing. When you get your chance in the NFL, you go fucking play, and you put better tape on film. You put the best that you could put out there. Nothing is gonna hurt his stock more right now. If he goes out there and plays bad, guess what? He already had fucking bad tape out there. If he goes out there and plays decent and plays efficient, he can get another job next year. So I don't think there's any fucking negatives to this. I think it's, man, if you want to keep a job in the NFL, you want to keep on playing as a backup or get a fucking clipboard at some point, you got to go out there and show that you're going to fucking put some decent tape. And it doesn't have to be the whole game. You got to put together a couple plays. You got to put together a drive. But to say you're not going to play because you got benched, I think that's a loser mentality.
No, I'm not doing it. I wouldn't do it.
That's so high school.
Why would I do that? Why would I risk getting hurt behind your shit ass offensive line? Like, you've done nothing. You've literally done nothing for me.
How many other backups in the league would say no to playing right now?
Yeah, but the Jets didn't call any of them. So what does it matter?
I'm saying if you're a third string quarterback in the league right now, no matter the situation, if they ask you to play, you're gonna play.
Yeah, but none of them are the former number 2 pick in the draft who are going to bounce back and they're going to get another spot. You don't think that he can go to LaFleur? You don't think that he can go? I think Kyle Shanahan would be like, yeah, I'll take a project on. I think Stefanski would be like, yeah, let's go ahead and take on a project. I think
it's a question. I think it's a question right now. If he would get a job, and the only thing to improve his chances is going out and playing.
You don't think that he can go and be like the third string quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys? Like, I think he's gonna get another job. And if I'm Zach Wilson, I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, this offensive line has been so poor. I'm not gonna go out there and get hurt. This team has already turned against me twice. I'm not gonna do that. Like, this team, obviously, they've already said to my face, fucking 2 years in a row, that you don't want me to play. I'm not going to fucking do it. And it's not just because of the coaches and the front office. It's because of the players too. Like, I'm not doing that.
You know who is getting jobs? All these, like Trey Lance, who's a third string, Trevor Siemian, who's getting on the practice squad, and all these other backups. But you know what all of them have in common? They all didn't say, no, I don't want to play. They all didn't turn down a coach.
Even when they play, they suck though.
Yeah, but they went out there. They didn't refuse to go on the field. They're, you know what? I ain't got it today, coach. Don't put me in. Put in another guy. Like, what the fuck? You don't think he's going to get blackballed by
I don't think so.
Coaches around the league going to talk?
I think, okay, so let's go ahead and let's hop into this. Should they fire fucking Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh? Like, I think so. I think they should be fired. It's fucking ridiculous.
They waited way too long. There's no option at quarterback. As we can see, there's other quarterbacks playing that are competent and would be really good for this offense.
And so I'm just like, hey, we had a fucking clown show here. We have, it's just not a good operation. We have Nathaniel Hackett as our fucking OC. And
you can't fire him.
We just see, but anyways, I'm telling other coaches, like, we had Nathaniel Hackett as our OC. Nathaniel Hackett is not good. He's probably one of the fucking worst coaches in the league. And we've seen Sean Payton prove him fucking right. So what are we talking about here? I'm not going out and playing for this shit show anymore.
I don't know. You guys let us know in the comments. If you're Zach Wilson, are you playing? Are you sitting? We sit on two different sides of this fence, so you guys got to decide. Did you want to talk the college football really quick?
Yeah, we have to, dude.
All right. So playoff is set. Who is in and who is out?
So the number 1 seed, Michigan. I think we all seen that coming.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 seed, I think we all seen this coming. Washington.
There's no other surprises at the end of this, right?
No, it's everything we
pretty cut and dry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Who's number 3? The
number 3 is not an undefeated team. It is a team with a loss. Texas.
Okay, but there's an undefeated, so pretty sure I know who's the number 4.
The number 6 team is Georgia.
Okay.
They just lost. I think it's kind of shitty, but
1-6, pretty big drop, but.
And the number 4 spot, Alabama. So leaving
You mean Florida State?
Florida State's
number 4. Right?
Florida State is taking on Georgia. separate from the college football playoffs. So the matchup is Michigan versus Alabama and Washington versus what did I say? Oh, Texas. Quinn Ewers in Texas.
And their reasons were the quarterback is hurt.
Yeah, that was
for
it.
Florida State. That was their reason. The quarterback is hurt for Florida State. And I saw the chair of the committee saying that, listen, Florida State isn't the same team from the first 11 weeks. The last 2 weeks, they're not the same team. So basically, the first 11 weeks didn't fucking matter. So
No.
Are we saying like the regular season doesn't matter?
That's exactly what they're saying.
Here's my thing. Okay, I get it. Alabama's a better team right now because they have a healthy quarterback. They're going to put up a better fight in the playoffs. The ratings are going to be a lot better. But like morally and football-wise, that's fucking bullshit. Florida State earned their spot in the playoff. They went undefeated. Yeah. Are you in the same thought here?
So I think that they got it right in that these are the 4 best teams. I think that also Florida State got screwed. I think that it's a lot like when you buy an airplane ticket and you show up, you go through TSA, you are at your gate, you've been waiting for an hour, and then they call you and they're like, hey, everyone for this flight, we've oversold this. We're going to need some of you to stay behind. And no one takes the cash. Everyone's like, hey, I need to be on this fucking flight. And you get randomly selected to be left off. There's nothing that you can do. You've done everything, but it's just you got the shit end of the stick here. And realistically, that's what happened here with Florida State. Like they did everything. They won out. People were saying it doesn't matter, just went out. They went out there and they won. They are a conference champion of a Power 5 conference, a conference that beat the SEC more than not. So why shouldn't they be in it? I mean, realistically, what everyone points to is the Oregon game. Oregon was a 10-point favorite against Washington, and Washington beat them. You have to play the games. And yeah, it was fucking ugly. I really was having a hard time sitting through that Florida State game. But Florida State was playing with their third string quarterback. And they still won. At no point did they, in Louisville, it was a top 15 team at the time. They beat Florida before that. So all you do is you beat who's on the schedule. And they actually lined up a really hard schedule. So why are they being punished for it? And what makes me more sad is Jordan Travis. Did you see his comments?
Yeah.
He was like, I should have broken my leg sooner. I wish I would have broken my leg sooner. That's fucked up, dude.
So he said sooner so they can show that they're not just him, like they're a good team.
How fucked up is that? And so you did put the onus on him. And that's fucked up to put it on one kid. And realistically, what they should have done is been like, just did the Aaron Rodgers. Kept him going. Hey, actually, he'll be ready by the playoff. We think that he can come back with the leg brace. You should have just kept pushing. If they would have lied about it, how the fuck is this committee not a bunch of fucking doctors? If you would have lied about it and just been like, hey, we can do it. He can come back. Actually, we're 100% sure that he's going to be able to make it. It's going to be a little uncomfortable, but we'll see. If they would have done that, the committee would have put them in.
Here's my thing. Like, this is college football. This is the NFL where you're like, we have to have a superstar quarterback to win the natty. And like, yeah, that really helps. And it usually comes down like, man, this quarterback made fucking amazing plays. But like, when has it ever been the best quarterbacks in college are always going to the national title game?
Mm-mm.
Like, how many Heisman winners have not made it?
Yeah.
And when did we start counting that against player teams or counting it for them? If we're going to do that, we're like, listen, they don't have the best quarterback situation. Then let's go to every fucking team and talk about the quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Like,
look at Michigan was not confident in their quarterback play. I think 2 games he had thrown like 10 passes apiece. Like, So, like, if you had stopped it there and you would have been like, hey, we're not really confident on that. Look at fucking
Alabama's quarterback wasn't even named the starter until a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And even then, Alabama had to beat Auburn, and it took a miracle Hail Mary play in order to get that win.
So if we're going to start nitpicking by position, why aren't we like, okay, well, USC has fucking Caleb Williams. Let's throw them in there. Like Drake May, let's fucking put them in. Like, it's fucking bullshit when you're going to put it down on like, okay, but they have better players, but who won?
Mm-hmm. But I also see the committee side of this. Like, okay, if you were a coach and I asked you, would you rather play Florida State or Alabama?
Florida State.
Yeah, you want to play Florida State. Fucking easy, hands down. And so I see it from that side where it's like, okay, well, what do you want us to do? Like, and I think this was the perfect year for them to screw somebody over because, well, next year we're going to 12 teams. We're not going to have this problem next year. Next year, nobody's going to get screwed over. We'll all be fine. So, like, it's basically a fucking commercial for next year's playoffs.
But you know what? That really screws over teams. Like, there's teams that make the playoff and then they fall off a bit and they just don't get that close again. And who knows? This could have went a magical run with the Florida State great defense. Like, you never know.
And their defense is awesome.
So, and it's literally, it's college football. All these guys at quarterback were really good recruits at one point. They're top recruits at one point. So what's to say this third string quarterback doesn't put together a couple good drives and get some touchdowns? Like, Tua came in as a backup and won a national title. So I think that a lot of these kids do have opportunity to show out a little bit. I mean, it's not like we're going to mid-major and their third string quarterback who is like a guy that was JUCO and he's probably going to be a coach. Like, no, these guys someday are going to play on that team or they're going to transfer and play somewhere else. But they're Power 5.
Yeah. I don't know. It's pretty messed up, man. But I mean, at the end of the day, these are pretty good matchups.
We'll talk about that. Yeah.
These are pretty good matchups.
Does it start
for Florida State, though?
Huh? Start this week or
it starts at the end of the month, I believe. I think they have like a full month.
We'll talk about it.
But I think that this is it's super unfortunate. This is the year, and I seen Stephen A put it like, hey, you can't blame anyone else. Like, you can thank TCU for this. TCU getting blown out last year had this committee spooked. They just didn't want something like that happening again in the college football playoff. So there you go.
Yeah. To end it, I'm just saying, if we're going to say your quarterback's not good enough to be in the playoffs, then why are we even playing the regular season? Like, if we're going to base it on talent, is this WWE? We're just going to put this on what are the best matchups? Okay. Then why am I fucking even trying?
That's true. But I mean, at the end of the day, these are really good matchups. And I think each team does something a little bit different. There's no two teams alike in this 4. And so if you are looking at it from the committee standpoint, I think two things can be right. Yeah, we really did fuck Florida State. And again, let's say Florida State goes out there and beats Georgia. If I'm Florida State, I'm claiming national champion. I am the national champion. You can't tell me shit. I'm the national champion.
They beat the current champ or the last year's champ. So
you beat the back-to-back champ.
Yeah.
You beat the champ. So yeah, like if I'm Florida State, I'm claiming that. But if you look at it from this side, like you do look at it and you're like, these are for like no one's complaining. Like, let's say Florida State just didn't exist and you're just a fair weather fan and you're like, damn, this is a pretty good playoff. Right?
Like, yeah, and that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're just gonna end the show on our deep dig disco short for discovery. Something we discovered this past week. Could be a show. Could be a book if you like to read. Could be a movie. Literally anything that's not sports.
Yes. I mean, obviously we're sports guys through and through, but I'm newlywed. Of course, I have to watch other things. So. My Deep Disco this week is a show that is streaming on Max. It is called Fatal Vows. It is just good old-fashioned trash TV. It is the concept of the show is married couple that one of the partners gets killed. And so each episode is like a true crime documentary of, hey, this is a married couple, and at the end one of them is going to get killed, but it goes the whole story of what happened to their marriage, the twists and turns of it. And at first I was like, this is fucking dumb, but then it's like, and the reenactments are a little bit cheesy, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, whatever, yeah, I'm just gonna pop this on. But it actually does have a lot of twists and turns in it for each episode, because at first you're like, okay, well, this happens, and it's like, it's probably the husband probably kills her, and then it's like, oh, well, then this, and it's like, she was poisoning him the whole time. What the fuck? Like, so it's a really good show. If you just want something just to put it on in the background, if you're into true crime, I would highly suggest it. It's Fatal Vows. Again, it is streaming on Max.
And I will tell you, mine is completely different than that. And it is the fucking masterpiece of cinema right now that we need. 10 out of 10 film. Go do yourself a favor. Just take the day off. Go to the theater and watch Godzilla -1.
Oh,
fucking amazing movie. It's subtitled, but don't worry, it pretty good storyline. Godzilla looks fucking amazing, and he's a fucking menace in this movie. Like, this isn't Godzilla coming to save the day and fight a fucking other kaiju. This is Godzilla just coming to fuck up your fucking front yard. Like, this guy is just coming to kill everything. And I really liked how the main character storyline of this, I think what they've done differently from the American versions is plot out the humans really well in connection to Godzilla. And so there's this guy, he is a kamikaze pilot in the war, and he fakes that his plane is broken, so he turns back. So he lives, but when he gets back to the base, Godzilla comes and kills everyone. And so that's how the movie starts, and he survives it. So it is a deal of with grief and depression and survivor's guilt as well. So the human aspect is really well done, but the Godzilla, that's what we're here for. It's fucking great. Some of the best Godzilla content, and I highly suggest you watch it in 4D like I did. It is half movie, half roller coaster, and I'm not talking oh, the chair fucking shakes or whatever. No, this shit is throwing your body. People don't, if you're old or you're injured, don't watch it in 4D because you will get hurt. I was sore. I felt like I fought Godzilla because I was so fucking sore. This shit is legit. I'm this. I would go up and it would throw me so high. I would look at everyone in the seats below me and they're also getting thrown. So everyone, I was with my feet up chilling. And the movie starts and it's boo, I almost fucking ate shit. So watch it in 4D. It's really worth it. There's smoke going around the theater. There's water hitting you. It's really immersive.
That sounds awesome. I have to. I've been hearing really good things about Godzilla -1. Some people are saying it's the best movie of the year.
I agree.
I'm in. I'm all in.
I think it's the best movie of the year. And it shows what you can do with CGI that looks really cool. And it's I don't think it's a crazy high budget.
No, it's a relatively low budget. And that's what people were amazed by as well. That it was so quality, but also the budget was very, very reasonable.
Is a budget of $15 million and it's
that's
grossed
ridiculous.
It's only grossed $35 million. I expect that to go through the roof.
Oh, it's going to skyrocket.
Yeah. So go see that. I'm telling you right now. Go stop this and go watch it right now. All right.
All right. Well, be sure to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe and drop some comments below. We really appreciate it.
Later.